boxed with a fella. He ended up quitting in the second round. So I thought that was pretty good. I'm a 16-year-old kid fighting in prison against inmates. I fractured my hand. Came back a few weeks later, and I had this guy waiting for me. I don't think his name was Ivan, but I call him Ivan because you look like Ivan Putski. Remember Ivan Putski?
Yeah.
And so it was, for some reason, it was just me sparring that day. So I said to my brother, Ray, tell Mom I love her. He's like, what? I go, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't think I'm coming home, but just tell Mom I love her. He goes, just do what you've been taught. You know, just so there's a lesson, a life lesson right there. Just do what you were taught. He goes, we taught you well. Just go out there and do what you were taught.
Right.
And lo and behold, second round, the guy quit. You know, so I was like, if a 51-pound kid can beat up this guy, it looks like Ivan Putski, and make him quit in front of all his buddies, you know, because I'm sure quitting in prison is not good for you. Not good for anybody.
No.
You know, and I've had people say, oh, so what, he's in prison? But this is one of those guys. I was like, I was really scared. As scared as could be. And there was my moment. I said, if I can take care of this guy.
They get a lot of skill in prison, let me tell you.
There you go. So I figured if I can, you know, this is what I want to help people learn, is that, you know, I call it facing my Ivans, because I faced that guy, and he went home unhappy, I went home happy. So whenever I'm faced with a situation in life, I often think, hey, you know, I can think back to a point where I really dug deep and pulled it out.
Right. And one thing I want to bring up, just especially being a nurse, is a lot of people are always concerned about the head injuries in boxing, and they look at Muhammad Ali and say, oh, well, you know, one of the things they don't realize is Muhammad Ali probably fought a couple thousand times between his official fights and sparring, and so that he was a very prolific boxer, and when you look at, you know, people say, well, that it's okay for their kid to play football but not to box. But yet they just settled, what, something $100 million settlement with the players for head injury, concussions. And one of the things about the golden gloves and the silver gloves is they all wear protective headgear. In some ways, that a lot of the boxing that goes on in the silver gloves and the golden gloves is probably more like professional sparring. Because the hits are not nearly as hard, I can guarantee you. I'm sure you know as well, too. Though some of them,
well, you get hit pretty good.
Ted, oh my God, there's a
Teddy.
kid, Ted, that comes in and spars if you just want to come and watch him on Saturday.
Yeah, you should come and watch.
He's got a cross to the body that makes you wince just looking at it.
Yeah, you don't want to get in there with Teddy.
No.
I'm sure you weren't watching it this morning, The View.
No,
okay.
yeah, of course I was.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. I looked out the window.
Oh,
yeah.
You got a View? This morning on The View, Barbara Walters said that the #1 head injury causing sport for children is football.
I believe it.
#1.
You know what? Another big head injury causing sport that a lot of people don't know?
What?
Soccer.
Really?
Yeah. It's because all the head.
Oh, the head in the ball?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I never played soccer. The other thing was boxing was number 24 on the list. And most of the injuries are in the hand or the wrist. Now, I don't want no one to get hurt.
But it's hands and the wrist before maturation. So once they hit probably 17 or 18, then there's probably a little or less.
Yeah. And did you know, Rick, that there was 11 people that can stop a fight? There's the mother.
Right.
You know, the mother can say, hey,
she can
cut this out. You know what I mean? Like any one of the judges, the referee, any one of the cornermen, the fighter itself can say, hey, I'm all done.
Yeah.
So it's like, my wife was very against boxing. That's why I hadn't done anything in, I don't know, I've been married for 26 years, so haven't done anything in a long time. She read the report, she saw it in writing, and she said, okay, we'll give it a shot. Because she didn't want I don't want a head injury either.
Right. But that's that's probably another great thing to mention is that in the kids want to participate because they want to compete.
Right.
And so it's no fun to go spar and then not get to compete in a sense.
Right.
And there are a lot of other benefits to boxing besides sort of the competition. But the thinking on your feet is a huge part, and a lot of people don't realize how much thinking goes into boxing. You actually have to be thinking 3 or 4 combinations ahead of where you actually already are.
Right.
Because hopefully, like in a professional or semi-professional or advanced amateur, you might know who your competitor is, and so you can study what they essentially have done, or
Right.
you can tell, what their sort of demeanor will be by what club they come from. So like, I forget the name of the club, but I think it's from Lawrence or something, the 127.
928,
Yeah, or something. Yeah, 978 or something.
Yeah.
All their boxers come out aggressive.
Right.
They may not all have skill, but they all are aggressive.
That's true.
And so you already sort of know that, whereas like you look at the sort of the West End Lowell, they're more of a classical style, and where Artie Romalo's they're more technicians, and so it's really interesting to
Well-balanced fighters.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, they're throwing combinations
Right.
as novices,
Right.
thoughtful combinations.
Right. Planning it out.
Planning it out.
Right.
They have really excellent footwork.
Right.
They had there was a kid from the Framingham Police Department's boxing club that won the one of the fights. He won, I think, the second to last fight, and he really had some skills. It took him the first round to get going, but in the second and third round, he clearly won.
Nice.
And there was also the sort of facing the unknown, which is a huge issue, because all of a sudden your competitor is unknown to you. They're right in front of you, but they're totally unknown.
Right.
You get to know their name, you get to know where they're from, and
Yeah, if you even paying attention.
right.
Right.
If you can even, and it's fun watching the kids with the sort of the ring skills and how they're bowing to the the
Officials.
officials, and we had a kid come out after you guys left in the Puerto Rican flag, and so that there's a sort of a whole, it gives them a personality for who they want to be,
Right.
and an opportunity to be that, So I think that's a really important part. What do you see for the future of boxing?
Well, I hope it's great. I really do. I can't predict the future. It doesn't look great all the time when I
Right.
see it. Part of my goal was watching the Olympics, and there was 2 medals won in the last Summer Olympics. I think it was, nothing against it, but two girls won, a bronze and a silver. I said, wow, that's incredible. America, that's all we did.
Right.
I stepped up. I said, well, let me see if I can help. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know what I bring to the table
Well,
exactly.
we don't have a boxing star right now, per se, a household name. I mean, we had.
Yeah, you got Klitschko. I mean,
Who?
Klitschko.
Who?
Yeah, guys from Russia or something.
Well,
What are they
but
from?
that's
Ukrainian or something.
Yeah, but we don't. There's no Muhammad Ali. I mean,
Right.
Muhammad Ali was
Still a name, but
Yeah, but I mean, if you say Muhammad Ali,
everyone knows him.
everyone knows. Sugar Ray, everybody pretty much knows.
Yeah. Yeah, there's champions now. They could walk in here, I wouldn't even know who they were.
Yeah,
And I'm in the game.
Right. Well, I when I was at the gloves, I was seeing people that I sort of recognized,
Really?
but I didn't really,
So hopefully we'll be able to instill, bring some life to it, and do a little CPR on it. And I think if people get to learn to love it as a lifestyle in a way, it's because it's more like a lifestyle. I mean, it's discipline, it's dedication, it's a lot of things that I think every parent will want their kid to have, even if it's like in football. The difference is, football you can tap out, or you can be replaced as someone to back you up. And boxing, it's just you got to depend upon yourself. So there's other things we can learn in a single person sport that we're not learning in team sports.
Right.
And I think that's probably a real important thing to consider for your child is learn to depend on himself, because it's me that get up at 5 o'clock to run before school. Yeah, I don't know, and hopefully I was thinking the other guy that I was fighting wasn't running.
Right.
Right. So those are the mind games that I was able to play. I never played those in Pop Warner. Yeah. But so I figure at some events there's a lot of people, at some events there's not a lot of people. So I think, like you asked me about the industry, I think it'll be around.
So, yeah, well, somebody once described boxing to me as like an iceberg, that it is a team sport, but the boxer is the tip of the iceberg, and the rest of the team is sort of under the radar.
Yeah.
Because it
it's
takes
big,
a team to train. I mean,
Yep.
you know, people watch Rocky and they said, "Oh, he trained by himself."
Right.
You know, that's not the reality.
There's a team.
When I boxed and was trying to box regularly, there was 3 old guys that were, training,
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 of us, and we were all working together.
Round robin.
Yeah. And the other big problem for boxing, though, is that it's not a scholarship sport per se.
Well, I hope to change that.
And so a lot of people don't pay attention to it. I mean, a lot of people think of boxing and they think, oh, well, you have to go on to be a pro. That's not necessarily true. I mean, you could box, and there were a lot of people with different backgrounds. We only got to hear about one of them, but one kid had done 2 tours in Afghanistan, had come back and was boxing. He did a supreme job. I wish I could tell you his name, but he was fantastic. I
Nice.
mean, it was like getting to watch a pro.
Good.
And he had real skills, and it was that's the sort of another thing that always catches my attention is decisions. Fight, there's unanimous and then there's a decision.
Yeah.
And if you saw a decision fight, that it was a really good fight for the most part, because both of them have really good skills. And I saw a lot of that where there were 2 boxers with really great skills, really great athleticism. Because I saw one boxer, the first round, just fantastic, combinations. He was able to respond to, his opponent. Everything was great. He got to the second round, started out great. Then he ran out of gas.
The equalizer.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where the conditioning comes in.
Right.
And he just didn't have the same conditioning that his opponent had. And his opponent was a little bit bigger, and he was able to hold up under the first 2 rounds, because they were heavyweights. And one was just probably dropped over the 201, and the other one was probably 240 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you know how that goes. And so it was just too much for him. But it was a great to see that kind of boxing.
Yeah, it's good to.
And it's cheap too, when you figure out what you pay for a movie ticket, and then you can go and watch the boxers for $12 for a whole night, and walk around and meet a lot of people.
Yeah, I met Johnny Ruiz there. That was neat. Skeeter McClure, you know Skeeter?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he was there. He was in the same Olympic team that Ali was on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice to see him.
So we got about 2 minutes left, a little bit less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
So what about the summer camp? What are the camps going to be like for the kids? What's a camp?
Well, where or when?
Where and when?
Oh, it's going to be at Empire. It's going to
Okay.
be in the recreation department flyer
Okay.
that comes to the house.
And do people need to buy equipment, or is it equipment?
I don't believe so. Just hand wraps maybe, but I would say just come, experience it, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Because we have equipment. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want parents to have to invest money into it if they don't want to.
Okay, and everybody knows Empire is where the old
Mad Maggie's?
racquetball fitness
Mad
club
Maggie's.
was. Yeah, and
It's 12A Street.
yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's A Street.
Yeah.
So, like, how many hours is it going to be, or what is it?
I think it's an hour, maybe 2.
Okay.
It's Wednesdays and Saturdays. I think it's 12 to 1 or 12. I wish I knew better. Sorry, but it's probably Wednesdays 4 to 5.
Okay.
In that range, or 5 to 6. And then Saturdays, I think it's 12 to 2 or 12 to 1.
And what's the age?
5 to 15.
Okay.
And I'll have Clay there and some other kids to help out. And we'll just go through the basics. It won't be any combat. No sparring, but just the basics: footwork, hand speed, all that type of stuff.
And anything else parents should know?
I'd like to get the parents in there too.
Okay. And so, what was your fighting name?
My father nicknamed all us kids, so mine was Ozzy growing up. So I just fought on the Ozzy.
Ozzy.
So I didn't really have a nickname. It's my nickname.
So you were Ozzy Fallon.
Ozzy Fallon, yeah.
Woof.
What's that?
Woof.
Woof.
OF.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Ozzy Fallon.
Ozzy. Oh, yeah, that's cool. I never thought of that. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, hey, thanks for
And I
having
know
me, man.
it's
I'll see you in the gym.
yeah. Thank you, everybody. Maybe we'll see you down there.